this will be the first episode of this podcast. Um, I'm going to be at first like describing what this will be about, like all like the details of it. So first, this will be about sports, mostly football and basketball because baseball, I'm not really like, I don't know too much baseball, but this season is going to start soon, so hopefully I'm gonna be paying more attention to it, so that will come in the future. But for now, it'll just be football and basketball, unless something like really major happens, like some big player gets signed somewhere else or something. Um, then I'll go the days that I will post. The days that I will post, this isn't gonna count for this week because I'm sorry, not on Wednesday, but one will be up Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll try to do 2 to 3 a week episodes, but it's not like for sure. And then what it's going to be on is like where it's going to be uploaded. I will have it on YouTube, obviously, and Spotify, the podcast app for iPhone, and I think that's it for now. Um, I will on YouTube. I'll be leaving like the chapters. If you like press, like if you try to pause the video, at the bottom it'll show like the topics, like at what time is this certain topic. So like if people don't want to watch the whole thing and they only want to watch one part, they know where to like skip to and stuff like that. And then uh about a camera, like obviously you can't show like a camera like on Spotify and like the podcast app, like but on YouTube eventually there may be a camera where it'll just show me talking, but on Spotify and podcast you can't do that. So that's the point of the YouTube, so that you could actually see what's going on. And then the mic, um, if this is on, if you're listening to this on Spotify or the podcast app, it's gonna sound different from the YouTube one because on YouTube I could actually use my mic like from my PC, but on here I have to use my earphones, like the Apple earphones, because I don't know how to transfer something from my PC onto my phone because I know you can upload this like on YouTube from your PC and I'm pretty sure Spotify, but I'm not sure for the Apple podcast app. I don't think you can. So it's gonna sound different, but my mic will get better. I have like just a headset mic, but eventually I'll get a better mic. And then the last thing is how long are the episodes going to be? So this first episode, like for like the first 2 to 3 episodes, it's not gonna be what I'm saying. Like it's probably gonna be shorter, but I would wanna have it around an hour and a half. Normally, I don't wanna make it too long, but also podcasts are long. So this one's probably gonna be like 40 minutes, but um, normally it'll be an hour and a half. And then, actually, this is the final thing. I will be doing one sport dedicated to each episode. So like, it's never gonna be half football, half basketball in um one episode. It's always just gonna be one episode football and then one's gonna be basketball. I'll try and go back and forth so it's not just like 3 straight football and then 3 straight basketball. But if it's like pretty busy in the sport, then I'll have to go 2 in a row. But yeah. So the topics that we're gonna do today is first I'm gonna tell you guys my favorite team in each sport. Then I will go over Antonio Brown and if I think he'll have a job again in the NFL. Then I'll go over the AFC West and how it just got to be the best division. Then I'll go over Derek Carr. Then my top 3 wide receivers from last season, only the regular season, no playoffs or the seasons before that. Then I'll be talking about Tom Brady unretiring, and then about Christian Kirk getting paid, where I would want to see Deshaun Watson go. Oh yeah, and also at the end of every single episode, I'm gonna do like a fun fact type of thing. So like for instance, like if it's a basketball episode, I'll tell you a fun fact about a player or a team. And yeah. So first, let's start off with my favorite team in each sport. I'll be going over like each team and also describing why I'm a fan of them. Okay. So first, let's talk about my favorite team in the NFL. So my favorite team in the NFL is the Raiders. So the reason I like the Raiders. So if I'm gonna be honest, I like barely started watching football this season. And then I just became a Raiders fan because my dad's a Raider fan and I was like I thought they were pretty cool. So yeah, that's why I like the Raiders. Then moving on to baseball, my favorite team is the Angels. As I said, I don't really pay too much attention to baseball, but this year I will. Also, my dad just likes the Angels, so I just picked them as a team. But I think they're pretty cool. I like a lot of players on there like Otani, Mike Trout. Um, isn't it crazy how like now technically the Angels have two MVPs on their team because Mike Trout has three MVPs and Otani literally won last year. So that's actually pretty crazy. Then in basketball, it's the Milwaukee Bucks. I picked them because I started watching basketball not this season, but the season before that. Um, it was like during the pandemic. I just was like, I need to do something and learn something new. So I started watching basketball, and the first person that I liked how they played was Giannis, and I also liked how Chris Middleton played. And I was like, you know what? Why not? I just picked the Bucks to be my team, and it turned out pretty good because they literally won a championship in their first season, or in the first season that I was like paying attention to basketball. And now we have like Drew Holiday, who's also one of my favorite players. Um, Bobby Portis is one of my favorite players. And yeah, okay. So now the first real topic. Will Antonio Brown have a job again in the NFL? So first off, Antonio Brown could have been, I mean, he is one of the greatest wide receivers of all time, but he could have gone farther if it wasn't for his actions. And I know that I think he has like some disease that makes him just not control it, but I'm not fully sure on that. Um, but Antonio Brown was literally going to be like a top 10 wide receiver, and he still is like a good wide receiver. Like I think he could still make a Pro Bowl. Um, like he has the talent to be on a team, but his actions are always bad and always make him look bad. Like no team wants to pick him up because he'll either leave, like he'll request a trade because it doesn't like it there, or cause problems, and you're forced to release him and stuff like that. Like this isn't like the Tampa Bay situation wasn't the first time like Antonio Brown has had problems. He's had problems in the past. Like for example, when he was traded to the Raiders, he left because of the helmet. Like he couldn't wear his old helmet. The commissioner the commissioner said no. And then he also had problems with the GM. And yeah, that didn't even last like half a season. Then with the Steelers, he was fighting with his teammates at practice, especially Ben Roethlisberger. And it's not good to be fighting with your teammates, especially your quarterback. Like that's literally your most important player on a team. Like he's the one who's throwing you the ball. If you have a bad relationship with your quarterback, he's first off he's gonna think about throwing the ball to you, so you're not gonna get as many targets. And then also, like, there's just no chemistry. Like, that's the most important chemistry is quarterback to wide receiver. Um, Also, he was always late to practice while he was on the Steelers, and that's not good. Like, if you're showing up late to practice, then that means you don't want to be there, and you also just lazy and don't want to work. Like, that's literally that might be more important than games. You could honestly say like they're equally as important because practice is where you practice literally. Like, that's where you practice for games, and like that's where you get better. Okay, now let's move to Tampa, where he literally took off his shirt and ran on the field and was waving goodbye to fans. He was just doing weird stuff. And supposedly, I'm not sure if this is true, but he had injured his ankle on the play, and Bruce Arians kept telling him to go in. And Antonio Brown obviously said that he was injured, and Bruce Arians supposedly said, "Okay, then leave." And then that's why Antonio Brown took off everything and just left. And I saw in an interview that he said that the reason he took off his shirt was because he said, if I'm not on the team anymore, why would I rep their brand and have their logos on me? I mean, if this is true, I'm kind of taking Antonio Brown's side a little bit. He could have handled it better and literally just left, like at halftime or something, and not taken off his stuff and made a scene. But I also don't agree with Bruce Arians telling him to go in if he's injured, if that's true. But yeah, there's wrong on both sides. Um, Also, Antonio Brown has too much talent to be wasting it, and all the stuff he is doing, like in the past years, currently, um, it's just like negatively impacting his Hall of Fame chances. Like, don't like obviously he's a Hall of Famer, but will the NFL even want to put him in there after all of the stuff he said, all of the problems he's had with the Raiders, the Steelers, the Buccaneers, like all that stuff? Would the NFL ever want to put him in? Because at this point, like Antonio Brown is just making those teams and the NFL just look bad. So why would the NFL want to put him in? I don't know. I think he'll eventually get in, but not first ballot. He should be first ballot, but I don't think he will because of the stuff he's done. Lastly, I don't think he'll get another job, to answer the question, because teams don't know how he'll act. They don't know if he'll throw another fit, start arguing with teammates, request a trade, request to be cut. Like with the Raiders, literally they gave up draft picks just for him to leave. So they literally just wasted draft picks. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he'll ever be on another team again. I don't think he'll even want to go back to the NFL, but one team that I do like come on is the Ravens. I think he can really he'll be a for sure a number one there. But I think Lamar Jackson will use him to his max potential, and he'll have a Pro Bowl season. I think he could still do that. On to the next topic. We're gonna be talking about the AFC West. So, as of today, March 15th, 2020, the AFC West is crazy. I don't know if it'll get crazier over the days because free agency is still going on, but the Chargers especially have just gotten overpowered, honestly. It's literally the strongest division in football now. Like, there's no argument. They literally, like, all these teams I could see winning 12 plus games next year, except probably the Raiders. No, actually, I'm gonna say 11 plus games, except the Raiders. Now, let's just go over every single team. The Chiefs. They haven't really done anything this offseason yet in free agency. Um, but, like, they don't have to do anything. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. They have Travis Kelsey, who is one of the best tight ends in the game. Top two. I think Mark Andrews was better last year. They have Tyreek Hill, who is a top six, top seven receiver. They have Patrick Mahomes, who is a top three quarterback, top five at least, top four. They also have Tyrann Mathieu, who is arguably the best safety in football. And yeah, I mean, they just had ever since Mahomes took over, they've just had success. They've almost made the Super Bowl twice. They've made the Super Bowl twice. They won it once, and all of that in only 4 years. Now, let's move on to the Broncos. The Broncos just acquired Russell Wilson for Drew Lock, a bunch of picks, Noah Fant, and I think Shelby Harris. And that just instantly makes them, I don't know if it makes them a Super Bowl contenders because definitely their receivers could improve. But it's not like they have the worst receivers ever, but they have decent receivers. It could get better. It could get better, but I would like to see Allen Robinson go there because I think that's a team where he could bounce back on since he had one of his worst seasons. Um, by Russ going there, the Broncos are now a team that players are gonna want to go to. There's been Von Miller who can make a return. He's been like teasing all over like social media and like in interviews. He's also like just been saying like he would like to go back there. And also the Seahawks cut Bobby Wagner and supposedly Russell Wilson has been trying to recruit Bobby Wagner right there. I mean, I don't know why the Broncos would say no. There's already a bunch of chemistry right there with Russ and Wagner. I'm pretty sure they came in the same year and they left in the same year. So if I'm the Broncos, I'm taking in both of them because the Broncos need edge rushers. Um, and also Wagner is still one of the best tacklers in the game. You could still say he's one of the best. And yeah, like the Broncos literally just went from like a 7-win team to minimum 11. And there's gonna be so many free agents that want to go there because who doesn't want to play with Russell Wilson? And if Bobby Wagner goes and Von Miller, who doesn't want to play with them? Next, the Chargers. The Chargers, they almost made the playoffs last year. So I would pretty much call them a playoff team before the season because it literally just came down to one game where the Raiders won. Their roster within 2 to 3 days has literally just become like I think they can go 12 wins probably. They have You could honestly say Justin Herbert is a top 3 quarterback. Like that's not even a bad take anymore. He's you could say he's top 5. I could also see like top 8. You can really have him anywhere there and I'm not going to argue it. I mean, he threw for over 5,000 yards in his second season, 30 touchdowns again. And yeah, they also got Khalil Mack from the Bears for pretty much nothing. We already know how dangerous Khalil Mack is. He's one of the best defensive players in the game still. Then also at edge rusher, you got Joey Bosa, who I think Nick Bosa is better, but Joey Bosa is still really good. He's one of the best edge rushers. Then this is who I wanted the Raiders to get, J.C. Jackson. And they got J.C. Jackson, so they have on their line, on the defensive line, they have OP players. In their cornerback position, they have OP players. J.C. Jackson had 8 interceptions last season, and he is also just locked down. Like he's a mix of Jalen Ramsey with where he doesn't get a lot of interceptions, but he he can truly just deflect passes and just be a lockdown defender, and also a mix of Trayvon Diggs because Trayvon gets a lot of interceptions but isn't locked down. He gave up the most yards last season. I think J.C. Jackson is a top 3 corner for sure after last season. He's a mix of two of the best cornerbacks in the game, and this just upgraded their secondary massively. Also, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, they're already there last season, but Keenan Allen is still a Pro Bowl receiver. He's obviously not as good as he was, but I mean that just happens with age. He's still one of the best route runners in the game. He has still some of the best hands. Yes, he doesn't rack up a bunch of yards, but it's because he's a quick pass type of guy. Um, now to Mike Williams. He's like the complete opposite. Mike Williams started off the year really good, but then it just kind of went to mid. He's inconsistent, but he's a great deep threat. Like he's still a good receiver. He had over 1,100 yards last season, I think. And at safety, they have Derwin James, who is still one of the best safeties in the NFL. So their secondary, their defensive line, just the whole team looks really good at the moment. And free agency isn't even over. I doubt they're gonna do something else big because they've already spent a lot of money, but I could see them making little tiny moves that make them even better. Okay, the last team in the AFC West is the Raiders. The Raiders literally have not done anything this offseason. The only thing they did was sign a cornerback from the Bengals. Um, they need to make moves. I wanted them to get J.C. Jackson As of this moment, Stephon Gilmore is supposedly supposed to come here, but it's not for sure. It says that they're the most interested, but yeah, they just need to make moves like quick. Like everyone else got better. Well, the Chiefs didn't really get better, but they're already a really good team. But literally everyone else is turning into some of the best teams in football, and the Raiders literally haven't done anything. They need to fix the defense, they need to fix the offensive line, especially since all these edge rushers are now there and stuff like that. Um, Also, this this division literally has some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL all in one division. As I was saying, Patrick Mahomes, top three quarterback. You could still say he's the best quarterback. I think Aaron Rodgers is still the best quarterback, but um, Russell Wilson, top six, top seven quarterback. Justin Herbert, you can say he's a top three quarterback, top five, top seven, wherever you want. He's for sure top 10. These are all for sure top 10 quarterbacks except Derek Carr because Derek Carr is 10 through 15. I think so. I think he's around there. So yeah, literally three of the top seven quarterbacks are in the AFC West, and a really good quarterback is also in there, Derek Carr. On to the next topic. Next, we're going to be talking about Derek Carr. Carr is one of the most underrated players because he threw for 4,800 yards with no one talking about it. Like, I haven't heard one thing about it at all. At all. And then the best part about it is that he does this all with a garbage O line and no solidified number one wide receiver. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Hunter Renfro, but he is at the best a two. He's one of the best twos. Don't get me wrong, 1,000 yards, but he's a Pro Bowler. But we just need a solidified number one. And yeah, like he doesn't really have anything there, and he'd still put up these stats. I mean, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I've heard people say Matt Ryan is better. Matt Ryan is still a good quarterback, but you're having him over Derek Carr? Derek Carr? Like, you don't throw for almost 5,000 yards, which has only been done 8 or 7 times, and you say Matt Ryan's better. Like, all time? Yeah, Matt Ryan's better, but not currently. Um, Carr is also just one of the best leaders at the quarterback position. That is really important for a quarterback to be a good leader because you're literally the centerpiece of the offense. And everybody's going to be listening to the quarterback because obviously they know the most, like, they call out the most plays. It goes everything off of them. And there's always been videos of Carr in the locker room hyping up his teammates or like saying stuff to them before the game, before the playoffs. And yeah, he's just one of the best leaders. Um, Also, people don't even have him top 15. How do you not have Derek Carr top 15. Again, almost threw for 5,000 yards. That's only been done 7 or 8 times. 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I mean, 14 interceptions is, it's, don't get me wrong, that's a good amount. And that's his career high, but come on. The yards and touchdowns make up for it. On to the next topic. The top three wide receivers from last season. My top three wide receivers from last season. Only the regular season, no playoffs, no other seasons, just last season, 1 through 17 games. Um, so first off, I'm gonna have Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, his stats were 1947 yards, 16 touchdowns, 145 catches, and 114 yards per game. He had the best wide receiver of he had the best wide receiver season of all time, undoubtedly. I mean, just look at his numbers. He was a couple yards and a couple catches off of breaking those records, literally. And I don't think anybody's broken the catching and yards record in the same season ever before. Like, whenever the Rams needed a first down or needed a big play, it always went to Cooper Kupp because Stafford could trust him, the team could trust him, and he always converted. Like, I think this season he was 13 out of 13 on third downs, I think. I don't know if that's right. I think it is, though. And yeah, I mean, we saw examples of it in the Tampa Bay game. That big, those big two catches to give the Rams the field goal to knock out Tom Brady. Um, then during the Super Bowl, two touchdowns against the Bengals, one of those being late in the game to win them the game. And then also, he's just a great route runner. He's one of the best route runners in the NFL. Like he'll break ankles by just running his route. He's fast, he has good hands, and also I think he's just still underrated. Some people still don't have him top 3. Still. How do you like if you look at the top of every wide receiver record in the season, Cooper Kupp is at least top 5. And you're still not gonna say that he was top 3? Top 3? Come on. He won Offensive Player of the Year for a reason. You don't win that, like, if you're not top 3. At number 2, I have Debo Samuel. His stats were 14,000 yards, I mean, 1,400 yards, 77 catches, 6 touchdowns. And also, the special thing about him is that he's also a running back, a wide back. He had 365 yards on the ground and 8 touchdowns. He had more rushing touchdowns than receiving touchdowns. He was first team All Pro. He breaks a lot of tackles. Like people literally bounce off of him. That's crazy for his size. Like he's not the biggest guy, and people are still just bouncing off of him. And it's crazy how many tackles he breaks. He's also so fast. Like he's just really fast, and he's also, I think he's probably the best wide receiver after the catch. He finds his way to get through defenders and just make big plays. And also, this was like the first season we have ever got to see him play healthy. Ever since he's been drafted, he's had injury problems. And maybe he's been like this the whole time, but we've just never really been able to see it. At number 3, I have Devontae Adams. And this is gonna be pretty surprising to some people because I know some people still have him 1. He had 123 catches, 1,553 yards, 11 touchdowns. He's arguably the best route runner in the NFL. He has probably the best hands in the NFL. No, I would say probably DeAndre Hopkins still has the best hands in the NFL. He was first team All Pro, and I mean he's just one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. The only thing that made me put him behind Debo is that first off, the 49ers beat them in the playoffs, so that has to be a factor in this. Also, Devontae Adams has an MVP throwing him the ball, a back-to-back, a four-time MVP. and a back-to-back MVP in Aaron Rodgers, the best quarterback, is throwing him the ball. So obviously, Aaron Rodgers barely makes bad passes, like barely, barely. While Debo has Jimmy Garoppolo, who is at the best, the 20th best quarterback in the NFL. Like he's just not good. He makes bad decisions, as we can see in the playoffs. But yeah, that's really like the only thing that had me put him behind him. The next topic is Tom Brady unretired from football. I thought he was gonna be there for, or no, I didn't think he was gonna come back until after this next season coming up. But nope, he literally came back after a month. Uh, so this instantly brings Tampa Bay back to contenders. Um, this division, besides the Buccaneers, is going to be the worst division in football. I mean, let's just look at the teams. The Saints, they lost Sean Payton because he obviously retired. They have Jameis Winston as quarterback, who I think is a good quarterback. I think he can make another Pro Bowl in his career. I don't know if they're going to re-sign Michael Thomas. He missed a whole season last season. He's supposed to come back this season, but they might just want to trade him and rebuild. I mean, you have Cameron Jordan. You have Alvin Kamara, who is one of the best running backs. But on offense, besides Thomas and Kamara, you don't have anything else. You don't have good receivers besides Michael Thomas. And the quarterback position it's good, but it could be better. It's okay. Um, Now with the Falcons, Matt Ryan is just old and he's getting older, and they just don't have a good team. Cordell Patterson is their best receiver right now because Calvin really just got suspended for the whole season because of gambling. I think that was a little harsh. I think it should have been 3 to 4 games, but yep, their best receiver is just out of the game. It's just out for the season. Um, then with the Panthers, it really like no one's competing with the Buccaneers, but the Panthers can still be decent if Christian McCaffrey stays healthy. He's giving you 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing every single season. He's one of the best running backs in football when he's healthy, but he's literally the Anthony Davis of the NFL. He's never healthy. He played, he was like out for half the season, came back, played 1 or 2 games, got injured, and the Panthers just put him on the IR for the rest of the season. Also, at the moment, Cam Newton is your QB. Cam Newton is just not going to do it anymore. He can't throw for more than 10 yards without it being an interception. Sam Darnold is garbage. And you just don't have an okay QB at this moment. I mean, they're in talks with Deshaun Watson, but I doubt they'll land him. The Bucks would just easily go to the playoffs. I mean, they've been doing that, but they'll still be one of the best teams in the NFL because of their roster. They have one of the best defenses, an MVP candidate in Tom Brady, who's that's pretty crazy. He's 44. He could literally be someone's grandpa, and he's still putting up MVP numbers. Mike Evans, they still have, who is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I mean, it's literally just consistency with him. I think it's like 7 straight 1,000 yard seasons of receiving, and I think he's had at least 7 touchdowns in each. He's just a physical, strong wide receiver, and he's always just consistent. You know what you're gonna get out of him, nothing less. Chris Godwin, he's gonna miss a couple games, I think, but he's you could arguably say he's a top 10 wide receiver. I don't know how he's gonna be back. I don't know how he's gonna be after his injury because he did tear his ACL, and that's a big injury. But yeah, those are still two. Like both of them could easily be a one on any team. Gronk will most likely go back to Tampa, I think. I mean, uh, supposedly wanted to go to the Bengals if Tom Brady wasn't gonna come back, and I would have liked to see that because Uzama just signed with the Jets, and I think that would have been cool. Joe Burrow and Gronk. I mean, the old player, the young player. But yeah, Gronk's mostly used just for blocking now, but Gronk is still a good tight end. Like, he's still serviceable. He's not top three, he's not top one, he's just not that anymore. But he's still a good tight end. Now, to the next topic, we're going to be talking about Christian Kirk's contract. Christian Kirk is now the eighth highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Whoever is his agent, put him in the Hall of Fame right away. He's tied with Tyreek Hill at eight, at the eighth highest paid wide receiver, and there's a big difference in production. Like Tyreek Hill is way better than Christian Kirk. Kirk's stats this season: 77 catches, 982 yards, 5 touchdowns. Almost a Pro Bowler, almost. Probably needed another 100 yards and a couple more touchdowns. I do think Kirk will have his best season in Jacksonville because Trevor Lawrence will use him, and he better use him for how much they're paying him because there's no really other good wide receiver there. DJ Chark, I forgot who he just signed with, but he's not there anymore. Marvin Jones Jr., he's okay. I mean, he's not that good, but he's okay. Uh, Christian Kirk, I think, is the best right now. And now, and he will have his best season because he won't have to play behind DeAndre Hopkins. Like, if you have D Hop on your team, you're going to be throwing to him 90% of the time. Why wouldn't you? He was also behind AJ Green in that roster. But yeah, I think he could potentially be a Pro Bowler next year. He'll for sure get over 1,000 yards for sure. Um, I do like Christian Kirk as a player. He's fast. Um, he can make plays. The only thing that concerns me is that he's more on the smaller side of a wide receiver. I think he's like 5'11". And then for the last topic, where I would like Deshaun Watson to go. I think the perfect place for him is the Steelers in Pittsburgh because Deshaun Watson, let's not forget who he was before all the accusations and the season that he had to take off. He threw for 4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. And he's good on his legs. Only 7 interceptions in the last season he played. He was a top 3 quarterback. I mean, come on, those numbers don't lie. They need a quarterback now since Ben retired. Ben really hasn't been good for the past 2 seasons. They've needed a quarterback for a while, but I could understand why the Steelers didn't want to get rid of him. But now since he's retired, they're gonna need a quarterback. I know that uh, Trubisky just got signed, but he's not gonna take them anywhere. Like, he's just not good. Like, no, that's not the answer. And with Deshaun Watson, I do think they can make a really deep playoff run, like a good playoff run. Like, probably at least win 2 games if they get Watson. They have good wide receivers in Deontay Johnson, who's a top 15 wide receiver. Chase Claypool, who I think is pretty good. They still have Smith Schuster at the time of this, but he might be somewhere else. I think he'll go probably somewhere else. And they also have a top 15 running back in Najee Harris, who I think will become a top 10 running back next season. He had 1,200 yards rushing, and I think it was like 300 yards receiving under one of the worst, a bottom 5 O line in the NFL, and Ben Roethlisberger throwing you the ball. I mean, he's gonna be arguably, I think he'll for sure be a top 10 running back next season. They also have the defensive player of the year, TJ Watt. I mean, 22 and a half sacks. I think in one game he had like 3.5 sacks. That's crazy. I mean, I don't even need to explain him. The best edge rusher in the NFL. Um, the only problem with this team, and it's a big problem, is that offensive line that I was talking about. It is just terrible, like really bad. If they come, they don't even have to make it to good. If they can make it to around the 15, 18 ranked offensive line, that'll be good enough. The one plus is that if you get Watson, yes, the offensive line, you want it to hold up so Watson doesn't have the risk of getting injured, but Watson can use his legs. Like, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Um, so yeah, that's the last topic. We will now just do the fun fact. Uh, the fun fact for today is the pick that the Raiders gave to the Steelers when they traded for Antonio Brown. One of the picks, they turned that pick into Deontay Johnson. They used a pick on him in the draft. That is pretty good for the Steelers because no matter what, Antonio Brown was leaving, and you managed to get something back from, and now you have a top 15 wide receiver in Deontay Johnson. So it worked out in the end. But yeah, so trading Antonio Brown turned into Deontay Johnson. Um, so that's the end. If you guys liked this, make sure to like it and subscribe. Um, as I said, the days I will upload is Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, except this week because I'm starting on a Wednesday. Oh no, it's Tuesday, but I'm gonna edit it and upload it on a Wednesday. So expect one Friday, and then it'll go to the schedule I said Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. And this one was around 40 minutes long. It's gonna go up to an hour and a half. The next episode will be basketball, unless like a bunch of big stuff happens in the NFL. I doubt it because a lot of signings have already happened that are pretty big. But yeah, the next one will be basketball. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and yeah.